Welcome to Anything and Nothing podcast, where we talk about a little bit of anything and a whole lot of nothing. Today I have Rick Starnes here with me. Welcome, Mr. Starnes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Rick is the founder of Courage to Walk. He has walked away from multiple six-figure jobs, and currently he is in a position where he's attempting to help other people with their growth and their paths or their life. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on, Mr. Starnes. Yeah. My first question for you would be, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Hope you are.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It's been a pretty productive and busy day. I played golf a little earlier. I don't know if you play golf at all.
I do not. Never got into it.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's addicting. Don't start. Okay, so before we get into what you're doing, with your business and everything, I kind of want to talk about a little bit your past history and everything, man. Where are you from? Originally from this area, or?
So, Air Force brat until age 7.
Oh, so you've been all over the place.
Yeah, born in Germany.
Okay.
And parents split up, so settled in Columbia. Latchkey kid, back Gen X stuff. And moved to Kershaw County when I was 25 years old.
Okay.
Been here since.
Was most of your life so you grew up obviously all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Was most of your adult life in Columbia?
Yeah, like I say, I think we moved out here, I think when I was in my mid-20s. So now most of my life would be Kershaw County since I just topped 50.
Okay, cool. So how was it growing up in the military, like going from place to place? Where did you spend the most time?
I don't remember enough of it to give you a great answer. Born in Germany, lived in Utah, and I remember a little bit of that. Fun fact, that's where I was when Elvis died.
Oh, okay.
And then Dad got out, went to Hickory, North Carolina, where he was from, took a job in Columbia. They split, stayed there.
Okay. So Columbia or South Carolina obviously is your home for the majority of your life then?
Yep.
Okay. How much time did you spend in Germany? Any
3 years. I have 2 foggy memories of Germany.
So I'm assuming you don't speak fluent German then?
I do not.
9.
I do have 2 birth certificates, though. One's exclusively in German.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you're into outdoors type stuff, right? What got you into that?
As I stated, I grew up without a dad, basically.
Right.
So I didn't get a lot of exposure other than just playing outside. And when I was in my late teens, I worked with some guys that introduced me to hunting and splitting firewood.
Yeah.
And, pulling a trailer and stuff that. And I guess I never appreciated that as a missing piece, but I really latched onto it. So I guess it was a part of me that was missing.
Were you in Boy Scouts or anything like that, or was it just actual camping stuff?
I did Boy Scouts for a little bit of time, and then they kind of asked me not to be in Boy Scouts anymore.
Why did they ask you not? Is that one of those areas we need not to go in?
Yeah, I mean, just maybe poorly adjusted young child.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I just asked. I had a former guest on. He actually made it to I can't recall what the ranking is, but he made it to the top ranking in the
Eagle Scout.
I guess. Yeah. Eagle Scout, yeah.
Yeah, not Rick.
So I know you like to hunt and everything like that. Is there anything else you like to do outdoors?
I actually don't hunt anymore.
Okay.
I'm more of an animal enjoyer. I like to watch them.
Right.
I don't want to kill them. I love to fish. I love being on the tractor.
Yeah.
I have a farm. So.
Right. Yeah. I got a little chicken coop out back.
Yeah, we have chickens, donkeys.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys clear land? You got goats or anything like that?
I need some goats so I can spend less time cutting grass.
Yeah, man. Who you telling? That's what I was thinking about. They've got businesses of folks that actually do temporary fences and have the goats eat all the grass and things.
I've thought about that.
Yeah. So what all animals do you have? You got chickens and donkeys? Is anything else?
I got some barn cats and 3 dogs that are spoiled.
I got you.
Rotten.
Yeah, I just got the Connie Corso and I got the chickens. That's all I got going on. Okay, so when you're not outside, what else what other hobbies do you have? You got anything else?
Yeah, right now I'm pretty much rabbit holing on AI.
Yo, man, you're talking to the right one for that.
Signed up to every agent they have.
Yeah.
I mean, DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity.
Which one's your favorite?
You know, I go back and forth. I think I was a purist. I was sold on ChatGPT for a long time. Claude's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
There's a few things I definitely prefer Meta for. And if it's quick and like I don't want it dirtying up my history, I'll go to DeepSeek.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I agree with you. I think each one has its own specialties, and you know, for me, I like Claude for, you know, a lot of the coding work that I do. Mm-hmm. But ChatGPT is better for images and writing and stuff like that. So I kind of use a combination of all of them too. And a fun fact, if you ever want to get into like try to learning something new, Gemini is actually pretty good at that. If you tell it to teach you something, it's pretty good at that.
I had read about the ChatGPT has that function, but I didn't know if one of them excelled over the other.
Yeah, they all have a function of learning. I like to use Gemini, and specifically because it's pretty good at. I tell it to establish a test, so I have gates, I have checkpoints, and everything like that. So, you know, when I get to a certain threshold of knowledge, it tests me on it, and if I don't pass, it sends me back and teaches me again. So it's pretty cool. So you grew up mostly in all over the place. Is there any specific spot where you spent the majority of your life, or?
I mean, I'd say Columbia's second grade through senior year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What does success mean growing up to you?
That's a good question. I think it plays well into the courage to walk thing, because I think your definition of success in your formative years and then your early career, I think those change and evolve. Back then it was, you know, probably six figures.
Yeah.
Probably a successful marriage.
Right.
You know, status.
Yeah.
You know, not struggling, not, you know, relying on government assistance,
right?
Or
yeah,
living where you didn't want to live. You know,
was with your family in the military, were they kind of successful in that rights, or how was your, from your childhood perspective, were your parents like what you would define as successful?
Well, so parents was such a brief period.
Yeah,
you know, so I would say probably no. I mean, military and then rental house, and then they split up.
Right.
Mom and I ended up in government subsidized apartments over in East Columbia, and so I was really good at basketball when I was little.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. What position did you play?
We just
all of it. Yeah, I got you.
On the dirt with a hoop with no net.
I loved basketball, but I sucked at it. Yeah. So that's probably everybody that loves basketball, right? Okay, so obviously, you know, I don't want to get too deep into your familial life. You know, it seems like there might be some, you know, some things there that you don't really want to get into. But so you got a firm definition of success. What brought you to wanting to help other people grow like that?
So it's born of, like you mentioned in the intro, me having left several six-figure roles in my life. I found myself in that what was supposed to be that definition of success. Maybe I had the income that I was proud of.
Yeah.
Maybe I had the title that I was proud of. And the success didn't translate to happiness.
You didn't have that fulfillment.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like many of life's other situations, you think, I can't be the only one that feels like this.
Yeah. And
so looking into it, I think what I've discovered is that feeling of being stuck or trapped by your own success, it's just from not realizing your options.
Right.
If you look into your options, then everything becomes choice based. Life isn't happening to you.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I didn't really stumble on my success, but I had my own jarring into action, I would say, and my own realization of, you know, maybe this isn't all that I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And I'll share that with you, you know, since this is kind of along the paths of, you know, what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can give me some guidance from there. But yeah, I was at a, you know, six-figure role as a leader in distribution center, and I was going for a position. I was looking for a senior level position, and I was promised this position by the person in charge at the time, and me pestering this lady, asking for a timeline and I found this all out later by her secretary. When I got into real estate, her secretary wanted to buy a house through me, and she actually asked me what happened. I was like, you tell me, you know what I mean? Like, you're the secretary. But essentially me pestering her about the timeline of it made her decide that she didn't want to put me in the position, and she took what she had already promised to me away from me. You know what I mean? And I realized at that point that I didn't want to continue going down that path, working for somebody else. And I thank God for that moment, because if not for that, I would still be in that position, because I would be complacent with life. You know what I mean? So I look at it as a hard lesson learned. That's when I that's not when I started my first business, but that's when I doubled down on my business. You know what I mean? And started taking it more seriously and thinking to myself, if I'm willing to put this much effort into working for somebody else, why not do it for myself? So is that kind of the people that you're interacting with, or more so the people that are already at that upper level and in their lives, in their careers?
Well, any of those is fine, but I think let's go back to your story. I think you were more of the exception than the rule. So how many people can you think of right now that in that same scenario would have still been there 5 years later and just blaming where they were on that lady?
Yeah.
And have not lifted one finger to learn AI, to buy some goats and start a goat rental business, to see if buy a stump grinder and see if they can pick up 8 jobs a month until it matches their income. Or, okay, my checking account is at $20K. When I get to $60K, I'm just going to quit and start sending out resumes. So that's who I hope to help, that person who is frozen and doesn't realize, hey, I have options. Hey, my success was built over these 10, 20 years in X field, but it's not tied to X field, X label. Okay, that makes sense. My first business that I did was back during COVID. I tried to start a 3D printing business, and it was it did decent. I had some jobs from my brother's company, 3D printing parts for machines that they had that broke and stuff like that. But I didn't. I wish I would have got on board with the mass printing of the mask clip things, because I would have made a killing on that. But I didn't catch that till after the wave. So. When's the first time that you ever felt like stuck in your career and started to think about your options? So I think the most extreme one was when I'd gone into the mortgage business. Okay. I was proud and flattered. I was recruited in. I didn't go looking. And so I was flattered by that. It came easy to me. I did well. And I did not enjoy it one bit. I made more money than I've ever made in my life. Yeah. And I quit. Okay. Is that the day you decided to walk and do your own thing, or? Yeah. So I had never experienced a panic attack. Okay. And I think prior to that, if somebody had told me they had a panic attack, I think I probably would have been a little dismissive. Like right. Yeah. Bow up. Be an adult. And then when about the second or third time, just riding down the road for no reason, I said, this is a panic attack. Oh, wow. And there's no reason for it. What's the reason? Yeah. Well, it's because I feel like I'm stuck. Who walks away from this kind of money? Yeah. Who walks away from success? Who walks away from people who said, hey, come build this with us? Right. And the answer is you have to, if you want to reclaim your sanity and show up at home for your family. Right. We talked about these different definitions of success. What if one of the definitions is I don't need a drink when I get home every night? 100%. Yeah. When I first got the first promotion, I became a raging alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? And it was a running joke amongst the other managers there that like you're not an OM or operations manager until you become an alcoholic. Right. And I was like, man, that's not good. Yeah. Well, so one of the fields I was in, the joke was, you haven't worked here. You don't really work here until you've been through your first divorce.
Yeah, yeah. And my job did cost me my marriage too, 100%. So basically, I was double down trying to get that promotion, chasing that promotion, and I worked so much that she thought I was cheating on her. So at least that's what she tells me. But it is what it is. But I'm happy to learn from it. And there's other things that happened. We had a miscarriage, and we had a lot of stuff going on that kind of broke us apart. But so you were in mortgage industry. What other industries were you in?
So that's another part of what I like to illustrate about you're not as stuck as you think you are.
Yeah.
Mortgages, lumber manufacturing.
Okay.
Financial advisor, Series 7 licensed with the SEC. And FINRA. So again, success is portable,
Yeah.
If you can make lumber, you can make potato chips, you can make golf balls.
Yeah.
You still know how to empathize with people. You still know how to respond with a calm head in a crisis. If you're good with numbers, if you're good with the books at the yarn factory, you're good with the books at the computer factory.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's pretty cool, man. I actually saw there was a guy that was discussing manufacturing lumber. He bought a mill, and it was pretty much all. It wasn't. I won't say it's automated, but it was all hydraulically powered. So he didn't really pick anything up, and he was talking about the money that he made by cutting the trees and the boards, and how he would just make relationships with tree removal companies. He'd come get the trees from them. I'm like, man, that is genius. He was like, I paid the machine off in the first week or first 2 weeks or something like that. It was something crazy. And then, there's a lot of different business ideas for folks out there that like, and I think that's one of the things too about feeling stuck, like not knowing what direction to take, what path to take. I mean, you name it. There's all kinds of different businesses. There's a guy, I seen guys that talk about they bought a trailer, started renting it out, then they bought another trailer, started renting it out, and they just continue growing it.
Exactly.
And then you got this passive income. It's not necessarily 100% passive, but it's a lot less passive than trading hours for money. So is the goal to get away from that trading hours for money mentality, or what's is the goal to just feel more fulfilled?
Well, either of those could be your goal. I think you have to answer the question of what is it that I'm leaving?
Right.
It could just be if I gave you the exact same pay to do the exact same job at a different company, would you take it? Right. If the answer is yes, then you're leaving a boss or you're leaving a culture. If the answer is no, then you're leaving a career. Right. Or a trade. It could be that you're leaving a commute. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. During that whole transitional period for me, I did consider going to another job, but the commute was longer, and I was like, well, the devil I know versus the devil I don't. You know what I mean? Also, I'm in a 6-figure position at that time at a younger age. Like I felt like I'd be a fool to walk away from that without having something already established. You know what I mean? So those are two more key points. First of all, lots of times, especially if you're younger, you get locked in on that. Well, I made it to $120 a year. I'm not taking a penny less. Right. Well, sometimes that's the price of your sanity or your marriage or your sobriety, or sometimes that's just a temporary reset when you jump industries and you run right back up to it. The other thing is, courage to walk this is not the stuff you see the clips for coaching and stuff. Follow your passion. Quit today. To me, that's irresponsible advice in most scenarios. So courage to walk might be, you can't leave today, but you can leave in 18 months. Yeah. If we do this and we do this. Setting a plan, essentially. Exactly. Okay. It's about the exit plan. And I mean, I think even if you have a success, this could be for entrepreneurs that have a successful business that don't necessarily like what they're doing right now. For sure. Is that, have you ever dealt with anybody like that? Maybe not entrepreneurs, but I mean, like, just imagine, like, you heard the joke, how do you know if you're talking to a lawyer? Give them 3 seconds. So imagine having gone to law school, passed the bar, and being a part of that esteemed group and hating being a lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That'd be crazy.
Imagine what it takes to leave that. And I know a gentleman who now he's an office manager for a state-run entity, and he's so much happier.
Right.
You know? I know a gentleman who was wonderful at his chosen trade. I'll leave it vague.
Yeah, that's fine.
Best you could find. Accordingly, he was recruited away by another company that lost him, said, please come back. He said, I need this much money. Well, the only way they could give him that money was to make him be a supervisor.
Right.
He never wanted to be a supervisor. That was not his aspiration. So now he's worse at his trade because he's trying to do this supervisor job, and he's not a very good supervisor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm sure he's less happy if he's like, one of the worst feelings is starting something new and like failing, but you do have to fail a little bit. As long as you're failing forward and you're learning from your mistakes and you're growing, you'll be okay. But it does suck to have to step away from, something that you've established and you're in a good swing of things to do something different. But sometimes it's what you need to do, though, I think. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you decide that helping others kind of walk the path? At what point did that occur to you to become what you wanted to do?
Well, I think, again, it's digging into that when I was like, I can't be the only one like this.
Right.
Let me analyze this. Let me use what psychology skills I got left over from Carolina. And a common theme when I was looking for my transferable skills, my professional superpowers, if you will, a common theme was I am fulfilled by helping people.
Right.
Whether it's helping hourly direct reports, whether it's in the financial industry, helping people understand thick, confusing concepts that make them uncomfortable around money and their retirement. And it's just another way to be of service, I think. I think that's where I excel. And again, it's saying, what is this funk if I made it?
Right.
What is this funk? Well, let me help you, understand that funk.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that before. And you've mentioned you're married as well. How long have you been married?
14 years as of last Tuesday.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, man. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
All right. What do you define a successful marriage as?
Well, I think...
and how do you make it to 14 years?
Well, this is my second try, so I'm not an expert there. But I think, and this is not my own quote, I can't quote the person, but I won't take credit for it. I think you have to always assume best intentions.
Yeah.
I think if I assume that what you said was to slight me,
right,
then the interaction is doomed from the start, right?
For sure.
I don't seek to be offended. I don't seek to misunderstand what that could have been saying.
Right.
I think showing up for one another, being present, not being stuck on I hate my job or I need a drink. That's really all I can tell you is I feel like we both are comfortable believing that I have her best interest in mind and she has mine. And it's so much nicer when you, like, there's no jealousy. You mentioned, the fear of infidelity.
Yeah.
It never even crosses my mind.
Right. I think the assumption of intent is important in all relationships, honestly, friendships included, and employer relationships, all relationships. That's cool that you say that. So you got kids? I
have 2 wonderful grown stepdaughters.
Nice. Yeah. Congratulations there.
Thank you.
So you got grandkids at all, or?
Not yet, just grand dogs.
Grand dogs are the best. Yeah. They're easier to spoil. Was your family supportive of you when you decided to walk away from your careers? Who was the most supportive?
My wife was so supportive. That's another tenet of my whole Courage to Walk. When you're looking at your
support group or whatever,
making this a realistic exit ramp like you talked about.
Yeah.
Do you have support from your family? Do you have support? Some people have a best friend or a core friend group. If they're all going to say, you're an idiot, call me when you get your stuff together, that's going to be a little tougher than, man, you can do it. We've been wishing you'd leave there for 5 years. You're not happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super important to have, and it's something that, obviously, I love my parents to death. My parents are wonderful parents. I said that multiple times. Mm-hmm. But they're also worst case scenario type people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like when I discussed starting the businesses with them, they were not very supportive. You know, but I found, you know, a circle of friends and folks that are like minded. That's essentially I've got to that support portion as well, where I try to take people along with me. So I try to find people with similar interests, not necessarily interests as far as like the field or the career or anything like that, but, you know, folks that have entrepreneurial mindsets that want to grow businesses and want to do better in certain areas, and try to help them as much as I can. So I totally get where you're coming from there. Let me think. So obviously your family was there anybody in your family that wasn't supportive?
No, and I have to tell you, it was very touching. I had a lifelong friend and my wife, both separately, without speaking to one another, both offered to write me checks to leave
Oh, wow.
a position one time.
That's awesome, man.
It brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah, I bet.
I did not take the checks, but the sentiment was worth more than the check.
Yeah. How do you go about setting goals for, like, because you have a pretty clear definition of what you have success for, but how do you go about setting goals and driving towards that success?
Well, I'm careful about that, because I feel like I lived a large part of my life thinking about someday.
Yeah.
You know, if I do this, this, and this, then things will get easier.
Yeah.
Then I'll have less stress. Then I'll be more happy. So again, I'm real careful, because you don't want to say, I'm at that goal.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's the happiness?
Right. Yeah.
Where's my chill time?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So to me, it's you know, we get one trip around this planet, right?
100%.
So to me, success, I could be successful today if today is a good day. And if I have a setback tomorrow, then my goal is success the next day.
Right. That makes sense. I think there's I don't know who said it either, but there's a quote, the graveyard's full of folks that what is it? The graveyard's full of folks that are waiting for tomorrow or something like that. Like enjoying the moment and living in the moment is super important. But do you actually have like checks and balances or checkpoints or anything like that when you're working through? Because I mean, obviously you gotta, if you're working with somebody that is successful or making six figures and looking to walk away from whatever it is they're at, how do you determine specifically when they should step away? So
we developed what's called kind of like a freedom plan.
Okay.
And, you know, it may be, again, based on finances. So
Right.
I have to say, in 30 days, where am I going to be?
Right.
And we're going to check back in, and you're going to be held accountable. In 90 days, where am I going to be? In 6 months, how much is this account going to have in it, or how much is this credit card going to be paid down?
Right.
It doesn't have to be that. It could be, in 6 months, I will have sent out 5 resumes.
Right.
I will have explored 10 startups.
Right.
I will have learned
some skill.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I will have learned coding.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And I've kind of stumbled into that myself. You know, for the business, for the web business, the Houston Innovations that I got going on, I set a goal that's actually what got me across the finish line for me. But I set a goal for a certain number of clients serviced. You know what I mean? And it was more so to replace my income so I could step away. So that makes total sense. Have you? What does failure look like? Is that such a thing? Is there a way of you know, course correcting if you're starting to go the wrong direction?
Well, sure. So I think failure is getting back into the negative self-talk.
Right.
The I'm stuck. This is useless. He's going to be calling me tomorrow for the day 90 checkup, and I haven't even looked at my resume.
Yeah.
So giving up on yourself, I would say, would be the only thing, would be a true failure.
How do you advise people to find that motivation not to, you know, skip the tasks? Because for me, like I'm kind of ADHD a little bit, so I like to break days up into task lists and kind of reward myself whenever I've completed tasks instead of having the reward up front. You know what I mean? How do you motivate people?
Well, I think,
or how do people motivate themselves?
yeah, so some of this has to be self-motivated.
Yeah.
We got to put on our adult britches, right?
Right.
And that motivation comes from how stuck do you feel and how soon do you want to quit feeling stuck?
Right.
But then if everybody could do that, I couldn't exist, right?
Right.
So then there's that accountability piece.
Yeah. I think accountability is definitely important too,
Mm-hmm.
and especially having somebody external for that accountability, which is why supportive friend groups is super. Like they say, iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? So you don't want a yes man for a friend. How do you deal with folks that have those yes men as friends? You know what I mean? Like, have you ever had anybody come to you? And it might be the case you don't, but have you ever had anybody come to you that has like, oh yeah, my good buddy told me this is a great idea, but it's what they're saying just doesn't make sense.
I've not encountered that, but I've certainly considered that. I even, back to the AI thing, on certain topics before I get started, I will prompt, do not answer any of the following with confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what I want to hear.
Right.
Don't give me false hope. And that's a skill you're going to have to learn if it's from human to human.
Right.
Because just like you don't want somebody who's, that'll never work.
Yeah.
You're stupid.
Yeah, you don't want a yes man either.
Right.
On the AI piece, I'm glad you brought it back to the AI. So I have something similar. I call it ruthless advisor mode.
Mm-hmm.
I tell it, activate ruthless advisor mode. I don't want you to be my buddy. I don't want you to be a yes man. I want you to tell me if you think it'll fail and tell me why you think it'll fail, and let's work on it till we bulletproof it. So I've in the business of AI, because I do automation. I do, obviously I make websites, I optimize businesses for AI searches, those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks hate AI. Have you had any conversations like that? Have you experienced that at all?
Well, I've never logged on to a single AI in my life. That's ridiculous. But what I'm seeing in the professional world is it's already made a quick cycle to AI posts are dumb, AI generated content is so boring.
Right. That's kind of what brought me there, because I posted a not an ad, but like a in like a chat group on Facebook, and there were people like this. F you for your AI slop, and I'm like, this wasn't even an AI post. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you what services I have, and somebody literally said, F AI and F you for using AI. I'm like, dude, like AI is a tool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, and that's how I see it. But how do you see AI? Do you think it's what do you think of AI?
That's what I was going to say. If I tell it, go create me my next 10 posts,
and just walk away.
Right. Then I don't think that's right. I don't think that's going to be my authentic voice.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be transparent, especially it's not the new thing anymore. Everybody's using it.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have the M dashes in there, right?
Yeah.
But as a tool, pick this apart. Tell me what you think of this.
Yeah.
Does this make sense? And what am I missing here?
Yeah.
And by the way, spell check it.
Yeah. 100%. The spell check is off the chain.
Yeah.
So people that were responding were more so, why are you trying to use AI to replace people's jobs? Have you not seen that the people that are using AI are having to hire folks back? And when I was in college the first time, I went to college twice. Mm-hmm. I was in college for computer science, and I know this is not a phrase that the guy that was teaching the class came up with, but garbage in, garbage out. Yep. It's essentially if you don't put any effort in the prompts and in the development through the AI, you're going to get garbage back out of it. Like for me, all AI does is it speeds up the coding process. You know what I mean? And like I've been making websites since I was 14 years old. Like my first website was a Pokemon website when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was a big dweeb. So it's not like I don't know how to do these things. It's more so, man, I can churn out a very high quality website in a couple days versus it would take me a couple weeks to do that level of coding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of that is knee jerk without any real background behind it. Because I mean, if that's your mindset, then why are you using a cell phone?
100%.
Why are you texting?
Yeah.
Why are you using voice to text? Those are all things that made life a little bit easier.
And the people are using AI.
Yeah.
Like a lot of folks don't realize that when you search Google, you are using AI.
Yeah.
Because the very first thing that pops up is Gemini.
When you say, "Hey Alexa,"
Yeah, hey Alexa, that's AI. Like, what are you talking about?
you want to hear a funny Alexa story?
Yeah.
So I walk into my house the other day. Alexa's notification light is on.
Yeah.
So I say, "Alexa, play my notifications." She starts talking, and I immediately realize hey, this is on sale right now.
Yeah.
So I tune her out and let her finish. As she's finishing, one of my dogs jumps up to me. And I said, "I love you so much." And Alexa says, "That's an inappropriate sentiment for a non-sentient artificial intelligence bot." And I was like, "I wasn't talking to you. Get over yourself."
Yeah, I've got some stories like that too. More so with Meta though, because I got the Meta Ray-Bans. I stopped wearing them when I golf, man, because sometimes like I'll hit a bad shot or something like that, and it's like, oh, like, I don't want to cuss on the podcast, but I like believe, and it's like, you shouldn't speak to me like that. I'm like, I wasn't talking to you. Shut up. Yeah. So I honestly think AI, like, hate it or love it, is here. I know that like there's a lot of hate around the data centers that are being built to support it and things like that. But I honestly, like, if we want to do things like you got to think of the positive too. Obviously, there's negative, there's risk with it, and we'll get into that in a second because I know you've got some passion around AI. I do as well. But if we want to do things like deep space travel, where calculations need to be done in seconds and they got to be accurate, or creating medications, like we've streamlined medication. We've streamlined the medical industry by using AI to basically do tests that would take years to do, and doing it in weeks, and that kind of gets into peptides too, which, I mean, I don't know how much you know about peptides, but those are my two main focus areas as far as like the things that I'm passionate about are basically AI and peptides. Do you have any core passions like that before we move further into the AI?
Probably not right now.
Yeah, I'm hooked, man. I spent a lot of time researching these things just because I want to understand how they work, how they were designed, and what risks they pose. I mean, AI does pose some risks. I'm sure you're aware of that. But I don't think they're quite as dangerous as what folks think they are. I mean, they have a potential to be very, very dangerous, especially if, as we talk about war and everything like that, the warfare going on around the world. Now it's drones and things to that nature. So, but AI is and I think a lot of the negative that can come from AI essentially comes from humanity as well, because the AI is not going to do anything that a human doesn't tell it to do.
Have you seen that AI documentary that's out now called That AI Doc? No,
I'm going to have to look at that. I definitely have to look at that.
That's what they address, is for every potential AI has to maybe cure a disease or formulate a new medication, it has the same potential to make a chemical warfare, something you can stir up in your bathroom.
100%.
It's all, but that's comes from the user, right?
Yeah, right. And it garbage in, garbage out applies to that too. Evil in, evil out. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Are you a religious man at all? I never thought to ask you that.
That's a good question. I think maybe more spiritual than religious, and maybe that's the answer to your question before. I'm curious, and again, one of those, I can't be the only one that thinks this way. I like to examine that. What does it feel like for other people on this earth to look over your shoulder after 50 years of living?
Right.
What does it mean to have taken this path instead of that one?
Right.
And is there a deeper meaning in that? Because regardless of what you truly believe, I mean, that's where faith comes in. None of us know.
100%.
And that can be unsettling, or that can be, I don't know, so I need to find my path.
Yeah, if you don't know what's going to happen next, the best thing you can do is the best thing you can do. What do you think like success would look like for you? Like if you were, whenever you're dead and gone, what do you want people to remember you for?
So, what I alluded to earlier, what I'm invigorated by is helping others. I would love for someone to say he genuinely cared about helping people,
Right.
or even if it's personalized, he genuinely had my best interest at heart. He genuinely helped me. And what I don't want is to have had all these what ifs and this would be
Right.
neat and never done it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, taking the first step is probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the biggest hurdle is for a lot? Do you think that's like just having the courage to actually take that first step?
Yeah. So again, we use courage, but not as an antonym to fear.
Right.
The courage is built based on realizing you have options or creating options
Right.
for yourself.
So like basically setting a mental picture of success. Outline the plan of what success looks like, and then just executing.
Yeah, I would say it is impossible to be stuck
Yeah.
unless you believe that you are stuck.
Right. So that kind of rolls into manifestation, right?
Mhm.
Like, is there any level of manifestation? Like, what do you believe about that when you hear the term manifestation?
So I think I hear a lot of people use this term now. That it's a little woo-woo
Yeah.
for me, but just by a hair. I'm very interested in mindfulness.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in 80% of the Buddhist beliefs and philosophies.
Right.
I'm not into the idols and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reincarnation, but at the heart of it, if I only seek to do good by others, and by the way, if all the others seek the exact same thing, how good are we?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. We would be a lot better off than we are now, for sure.
Mhm.
What do you think of all the war going on around the world now?
It's sad, it's disheartening, but it is not new.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was 8,
Right.
at recess, we ran outside with the yellow ribbons when they released the hostages in Iran.
Yeah.
And then a generation before that, Vietnam and
Yeah.
the other world wars and everything in between. What's Black Hawk Down?
Yeah.
It's not new. I don't think it's gonna go away. I think it's terrible anytime we have to sacrifice human lives, especially if it's in the name of you don't believe the way I believe,
Yeah.
or you don't conduct business the way I conduct business.
Yeah.
That to me is just such a waste.
Yeah, I think it's more monetarily motivated than anything, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of folks aren't honest with themselves whenever they look at that. I mean, I remember back even I first got into this mindset when I was in my 20s, and I found out that George Bush had all those those ties to weapons manufacturing companies. I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. But it's the same thing with every politician out there, it seems like. But I try not to get too deep mentally into things like that, because it's things that I can't control anyways. Is control one of the things that folks struggle with whenever they're looking at taking those next steps?
Well, I think that ties back into if you think you're stuck, if
Yeah.
you think you're trapped, then you don't realize that you are the one in control.
Right.
So taking control means building that exit ramp, building that safety cushion financially, building that support system, building that knowledge set that you need to build.
Right.
So control, you have to accept it.
Right.
Hey, I am in control.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm terrible at quotes, but if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right. Either way. Yeah.
Do you know who said that?
I don't.
That's a good one, though. Whoever said that. All right. So we talked a good bit about your family history, courage to grow, AI. What are you reading now? Do you got any good books on hand?
So I just started The Portrait of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
I haven't read that one.
Oscar Wilde was a very flamboyant, very controversial figure, and I always wanted I have a degree in English.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so I thought for a while that meant I had to read the classics and I had to read the canon. But then the unexpected part that popped up was some of this stuff didn't interest me.
Right. Yeah.
So now I read for pleasure. I look. I like to fall in love with characters.
Right.
I like to realize when the stack in your right hand's getting small that I like to panic a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm going to miss these people.
Yeah.
You know,
There's nothing else coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hated reading up until the point I read the Harry Potter series, which, I mean, I know people can judge me if they want to, but I've always been a bit of a dweeb. You know what I mean? Like, I like fantasy type stuff and magic and science fiction and things like that. So I haven't read for pleasure in quite a while. I've been reading a lot of self-help books. I've been reading a lot of books around, you know, motivating yourself and things of that nature. Do you have any good nonfiction books, like, for folks that are looking to take next steps in that area?
Maybe in the next 9 to 12 months, we'll have a Courage to Walk nonfiction.
That would be, hey, that would be awesome, man. Definitely let me know when you get that. I would like to read that. Is that one of the goals that you have?
Yeah, I don't want to. It sounds cliche and a little bit cheap to me to call it that I want it to be its own brand.
Yeah.
But I would like it to be an entity. I would like, if you don't want one-on-one with me and you know, accountability sessions and roadmaps and worksheets, but you want access to some of the tenets, some of the principles, some of the thought provokers, that there can be workbooks or reference materials.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to have a platform like this where...
Yeah, that was my next question. Are you like I think some type of YouTube channel or some type of social media outlet? I think that would be a really good path for what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm always like scanning for it. Like the 1993, the CEO of Procter & Gamble goes and becomes the CEO of IBM.
Yeah.
Right? So not Procter & Gamble, Nabisco.
Yeah, yeah.
So I go from food to IBM.
Right.
So tell me how your success is not portable because you've always worked in one field.
Yeah. That's crazy. I never thought of it like that. I feel like CEOs are, like, I can't say CEOs are a bit of a sham, but I want to say they are. I think they're overpaid for sure. But CEOs definitely have, as much as people hate to say it, like just tracking different companies and seeing the impacts that different CEOs have had, they definitely are capable of making significant changes for companies. So I can understand why they spend so much money doing that. But yeah, the Courage to Walk book, I definitely would want to get into that. And you know, I made an app. I want to show it to you after the podcast. I call it One Life Left. It's basically to gamify your life, and it's some of the I might elicit your help on a little bit of it to kind of work some of your principles into it, or I could help you make an app. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A One Life Left or a Courage to Walk app. But I definitely think, you know, a podcast, like I would love to see you come up with a podcast. Like dude, the things that you're saying are impactful, and I think that getting a good channel, like any way I can help, just let me know.
I appreciate that. You remember I emailed you about wanting to This is why.
Yeah, we got to get together, man. I'm sure, like, and then you got the farm too. Like, that'd be a perfect backdrop for the whole thing. So what do you think your next bit of success, like, what do you think your next goals are? What do you think is next for you? What's the next task to accomplish?
Well, so I'm hoping to find enough people that this resonates with to help to make it just a notch above a passion project,
right?
Is what it is now. If it's not impactful, then, you know, I'm not meeting my mission, right? And so then it'd be time to move on. I am 3 to 5 chapters into a fiction novel that I'm very excited about, but I'm also very nervous and perfectionist about.
Okay. So you're writing a fiction novel?
I am.
Oh, cool. What's the premise, if it's not too much?
It's not too much for me. It might be too much. So the premise is about the spirituality stuff we discussed. So in the the shortened version of it is a young lady loses her spouse.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to her, the moment that he leaves this world, a little boy is born somewhere else. And she, by chance, encounters that boy later in life and notices some mannerisms that she finds familiar and starts questioning.
I like that. That's cool.
Thank you.
What's it called? You got a name for it yet?
I have a working title. I don't know if I would ever got a deal or a publisher. They'd probably change it from what I read, but right now it's based on one of the similarities she picks up on, so it's called Smells Like Honeysuckle.
Oh, okay. That's a good one, man. Okay, cool. And are you going to work on the Courage to Walk book alongside that book, or are you going to
two totally different headspaces. One more creative, one straight, this is what I feel, this is what I believe, this is how I think you can help yourself if you don't want my help. This is, again, I think there's something powerful in realizing, it's not just me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I want that to be, if you don't want to enlist my help, I want that to be available for you to read privately.
Right, 100%.
This guy gets it.
Yeah, that's kind of what drew me into the Heaton Innovations business. So the moment I realized that I actually had an idea that was impactful for other people, and I walk through this a lot, but just basically whenever I wanted to create a wellness health and wellness center, and I still do. It's on my list. Like I've got 3 or 4 businesses that my goal is to establish all of them and grow them independently. But I don't want to go in a whole lot of debt to do that. I want to fund it from my other businesses, obviously. But so I started a website, Elemental Healing, and it was the health and wellness business that I was trying to establish. And my goal was to establish pre-orders so that I could fund the business opening. And when I created the website, that's when I learned about answer engine optimization. And I was like, man, I need to do this for my website. So, I spent probably 2 months learning how to do it. And I was like, man, once I did it, I was like, well, let me just see. Yeah, I decided to try to apply it to my real estate career because I was doing the real estate full time then. And I started talking to the folks at the real estate company, and they were like super excited about it and everything. And I was like, man, I might have something here. So I was like, I make all these cold calls to people trying to get business for real estate. Let me just cold call a couple businesses. And I called 3 businesses. I'll never forget this. I called 3 businesses, and all 3 of them were like, what? You do what? Like, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I got to get on this now. So,
unique cold calling experience in history, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Like it never goes like that. Yeah. But, and it's grown, the scope of it has changed. Like it's more so for me, I'm trying to deliver an experience now that helps folks grow their businesses, because one, I don't want to just get you more business. I want you to be able to organize your business and help your interactions with your clients have, one of the things I learned in real estate, and they were really good at, was client follow-up. And I think a lot of folks in a lot of different industries fail at that. So that's why I spent so much time making the CRM that I made, just so folks can actually have that follow-up schedule, that routine. And people dropping balls and losing business goes hand in hand. You forget about somebody, you don't reach out, they go to somebody else. So regardless of what the industry is that you're in, it's all applicable. So that's the kind of methodology that I wanted to apply to that. Well, what's been the best advice that anybody's ever given you?
That's a tough one. I think one that's helped me in developing myself as a leader, in the leadership roles I've had in my different professions, is that conflict is not necessarily negative.
Yeah.
Conflict's not a bad word.
Yeah.
We've assigned a negative connotation to it, but if you're doing it that way, and I'd prefer you do it that way, by definition, we're in conflict.
Right.
We don't have to hate each other.
Yeah.
We don't have to even have one single hard feeling, but by definition, we're in conflict.
Right.
And so if you learn that conflict is okay, conflict is often productive, conflict allows you to address things head on and move forward, I think that's very valuable.
100%. You do not have to agree with everything somebody says to actually be productive and have some type of forward momentum with them. So I definitely get that. Who's been the biggest influence in your life?
Biggest influence in my life. You got me stumped there, Mr. Rob. I would say there's two older gentlemen. Like I mentioned before, growing up without a positive male role model, but not really realizing that I had something missing. There's been two gentlemen in my life that both instilled in me the need for character, honest, hard work.
Right.
You know, I don't want to, name names with family members, this, that, and the other.
Right. Yeah.
But there have been two gentlemen, both have since passed. They were older that they filled a void that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
And helped me learn work ethic and, character and do what you say what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think do you think they would be happy to see kind of how your life's been turning out?
I certainly hope so. Yeah. This is the cleanest my nails have been in a while, and I think both of them would appreciate, they appreciated a good hard day's work.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that. My dad taught me a lot of that work ethic, and self-reliance was his big thing. Like it kind of spawned from being a little poor, but even whenever he started making money, he was still, working on his cars and doing all that stuff, just because it was like, man, why would I pay somebody else to do this and I can do it? Yep. So, and I appreciate that skill. I've told this story before too, but I used to drive around when I was younger. I used to be all over the place, but I was in Savannah, and my car broke down on the side of the road in front of an O'Reilly's, and I had my toolbox in my trunk, and it was the alternator died, and I literally just took the alternator off, took it to O'Reilly's, and came back, and I called my dad. I was like, "Thanks, Dad."
Yeah. How great is it?
Yeah, it was a great feeling. That's why he's probably one of the most influential people I've had in my life. But if you could go back in history and change one thing in your life, if anything, what do you think that would be?
I think growing up like I did, as I mentioned, poor, I think I was very insecure at times. I didn't have the brand names.
Right.
Didn't have brand new shoes first day of school you're supposed to have, that kind of thing. And I think that insecurity caused me to be unkind to others.
Right. If
I could find somewhere to punch down, I think a lot of times I did. Like age 13 to 17, I think I was very angry.
Yeah.
And I would like to have those years and interactions back.
Is that like what you would, if you could go back and just tell yourself one thing, is that kind of what you would tell yourself? Like how you treat others or something like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be anything, be kind.
Yeah. I have a similar story, you know what I mean? Like my clothes was hand-me-downs. And it was, man, like I said, I have great parents, man. And thankfully I had my father in my life. But my mom, she was a coupon clipper, and man, she stretched a dollar, bro. She made it work. And then again, like I said, my dad, he started making, my dad got he got crushed in a robot at one of the manufacturing plants that he was at. And he got a little money out of that, but then he went to another manufacturer that, because I mean, when you have a skill or something like that you've done for an extended period of time, that skill becomes more valuable. You know what I mean? And he'd been a fabricator from like the age of 14 to his 60s. So like he could make anything. You know what I mean? So I kind of went off on a tangent there. I don't know where I was going with that.
It was you were saying the parallel from growing up.
Oh yeah. But my childhood, I do remember. I got picked on a lot for my weight. Like I had I was obese as a child, and two, my clothes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like so I totally get where you're coming from with that. And then I had a period of time, and I'm still kind of there. Like, man, I'm guilty of it. I've got like stuff in my closet that I'm thinking back of it after this conversation. I'm like, why do I have that? You know what I mean? Yeah. But still, I am blessed to be able to actually afford that stuff now. So I'm happy to have that. We're about an hour in. I try to keep these at about an hour. Do you have any final words of wisdom for the audience?
No, I just to kick that dead horse. Just you're only stuck if you believe you're stuck.
Yeah.
You know, if you create options, then everything is a choice instead of an event.
Right. Man, I hate to talk about other guests, but I've got another guest coming on, and his whole brand is Unstuck Entrepreneur or something like that. It might be a good conversation to have with him too. I'll see, if he wants to maybe talk to you or something like that. But again, thank you for coming on, Rick. I definitely appreciate it.
I enjoyed being here.
Yeah, and make sure you guys check him out, couragetowalk.com. If you guys want to reach out to him, you can contact him there. I'll also have his other contact information, his socials and everything down below. I definitely appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. That definitely helps out, especially the subscriptions. We're getting plenty of people watching and not subscribing, so please subscribe. That'll help the channel out a lot. And we'll continue to bring you more guests with more different backgrounds, and we might have Rick on again in the future. But hope you guys have a good day and take care.